So, one of you saying that's dictation of market stabilization bond. So, you can just write the two-line concept. Basically, I discussed you the background because why it's happened and why we issued it. Okay, so writing that you understand it. Just you can write it. Okay, the market stabilization bond, which is issued initially in 2004 under the market stabilization schemes to stabilize the economy. Clear? Simple in one line. Yeah, mechanism you have to understand, but explaining all the mechanism, it will take time. So you understand the concept and you write it. Take it here. Now, so basically we are going to discuss the MCLR and marginal cost and average cost. Then you can better understand. And then we are coming for the external benchmark based lending rate system. That is the last one which is applicable today, and all the banks are following this. Okay, so I'm just discussing first. I'm giving you the concept of cost, and then I will come back to this topic, and then I will discuss with you. So it is known as theory of cost, and I'm not going for the diagram, and it's just basic concept, theory of cost. And this information will help you also to understand the other part of the economy. Theory of cost. So let us consider I am taking a production functions. I am taking a production function, and which is not equal to production function which are the Q, which is the function of labor and capital things. So we have discussed, and you are knowing that in the, because all are related to other class. Okay, what we have already discussed with you. Okay, there are 4 factors of production. These are the land, labor, capital, and entrepreneurs. So there are 4 factors of production. But problem is we can't explain the more than 2 dimensions. We can't explain means normally we are not explaining the more than 2 dimensional. So if you take the normal diagram, okay, so we are taking the 2 dimensional, that is the x-axis and y-axis. So practically we are just accordingly we are assuming that okay we are. So normally if you take a normal diagram, we are explaining this. So we are assuming that okay, there are the 2 factors only, because you can only take 2 factors. So here there are so many factors, but what we are doing here, okay, labor you take 1 factor and all other factors you club together and say it's a capital, because nature is more or less same. So you can just say the capital here for production function. So labor you can take 1 and all other you put in capital. So you can say that production is the function of labor and capital. Okay, always remember when you are sitting, don't sit without writing. Keeps writing something what I am telling you. You watch, also understand it, but meanwhile you keeps writing it. So production function, what I am saying, the production function telling you to, and Q is what? So Q is any output, any product. Q you can say any product, or you can say output. Here L is the labor, K you can take it is a capital. Clear? And it is known as production function. Production functions. Clear? So you are saying that if you want to produce anything, Q, why I am writing, we are writing Q. Q represents anything. So if you want to produce anything, say Q amount of goods, so to produce this Q, we have to use labor and capital both at the same time. That is the meaning of this function. It means keep output, or this output is a function of labor and capital. That is the meaning. Means if we want to produce anything in the economy, we have to use labor and we have to use capital. We have to use both at the same time. Clear? Labor and capital both. Clear? So output is the function of labor and capital, you can say. There is one concept in economics, and it is the short term and one is the long term. Short term and long term. Short term, you understand, it is a time period. Short term is a time period during which fixed factors cannot be changed. Just you write, all of you, short term. You have written this production function. You write production functions, please set yourself. And then you write short term. Short term is a time period of time, you can say. Short term is period of time. Short term is a period of time. During that period, short term is a time period during which fixed factors cannot be changed. During which fixed factor cannot be changed. Okay. Short term is a time period during which fixed factors cannot be changed. Clear? So, you can ask me, sir, what is the time period? 1 month, 2 months, 6 months? No, dear. The short term you cannot define in this way. Simply you are saying that there are two types of inputs generally we consider. One is the fixed input and one is the variable input. So short term is a time period during which you cannot change the fixed factor or fixed inputs, fixed factor or fixed input. That period we can say it is a short term. अब देखो होता क्या है? Suppose there are some factors you can change even for one. It's a fixed nature, but minimum time you take 1 week. Suppose your production unit is nearby your Kolkata, and the machine what you are using is available in Kolkata, suppose, and you decided, I have to increase output. For that you need more machine. So from you bringing something from Kolkata, hardly it will take, you will buy it, the engineers will come, install it, and then you start production. Suppose 1 week you take, minimum 1 week you take. So that time 1 week is a short term. Because then when you want to change within 1 week, you can't change it. So it is 1 week is a short term. Suppose you are buying from the South India. So minimum time you take around 1 month, because you're giving order, it will come to you. Okay, then engineers will come, install it, then you can start production. So distance matter. So 1 month it takes. So you can say 1 month here is a short term. Clear? Suppose you are buying from the other country, say China or say Japan, then minimum you need around 3 months, maybe 4 months, maybe 6 months. But within that period, even you want to change, but you can't change it. Minimum times you need it. So that time period is known as short term. Suppose you want to set up a new building, you want to set up a new plant, and for that you have to construct the new building. But construction of the large scale plant, it takes around a year. So that time 1 year is the short term, or maybe more than 1 month, 1 year maybe. So simply you understand that short term is a time period during which fixed factors cannot be changed. You written that? Short term is a time period during which fixed factors cannot be changed. Clear to all? Next you write long run, long term. Long term. So long term simply you can say is a time period. Long term is a time period. Write first one line. Long term is a time period during which all factors can be changed. Just write. All factors can be changed, including fixed factor. All factors can be changed, including fixed factor. We are mentioning if you are writing all factors can be changed, so it's enough. But you are writing including capital Y because you can mention that we can't change, but here we can change because it's a long time horizon. If it is a long time horizon, then easily you can change it all the factors. It is a possible. Clear? So long term and short term is clear. Now, in short term, since some of the factors you can't change, so that is the nature of the capital. Capital you don't change it basically in the given time period. You need a time period. So we put bar. We are putting bar on K because capital is normally it is a fixed in nature that you can't change it when you want. But labor is variable input. Labor is considered as the variable input. That when you want, you can change it. That is the concept behind it. Suppose you want 2 more labors, from tomorrow you can get 2 more labor. You want to fire, you can fire it. You want to increase, you can increase it. So capital here is considered as the fixed input, and labor is considered as the variable input. Why I am putting a bar? Bar represents the value of this particular factor is given, or any variable you take. Put a bar on that. That represents value is given. Given means constant at that time. Okay. Constant we can't say, but we can say the value is given at that particular time period. I mean that during this analysis or time period you have taken. Okay. So there is 2 concepts arise. One is the fixed input or fixed factor, and other is flexible, not flexible. One is fixed, another is variable. Variable input, or it is known as variable factor. Variable input or variable factor. Clear? Then what is fixed input? Write one line. Fixed input oblique factor, fixed input oblique factor. Fixed input is that factor, or fixed input or factor is the input, right? Is the input that cannot be changed in short term. Yeah, you written one line. Fixed input oblique factor is the input, or right, is the factor which cannot be changed in the short term. Short term आप change नहीं कर सकते, you can't change it. Okay. Similarly, the variable input. So you written the fixed input. Fixed input or factor is the input which cannot be changed in the short term, like capital. Just you write like capital. So you are knowing capital you can't change when you want to change it. Okay. It takes minimum period, minimum time. Then only you can change it. Clear? Variable input you write. Variable input. Written that variable input. The input that can be changed. Variable input means input that can be changed, input that can be changed in short term. Inputs that can be changed in short term is known as variable input. Input that can be changed in short term is known as variable input, like labor. Yeah, like labor. Clear? Find here? Now, come back. So, Q means, again I am repeating, Q may be any output. The production of this is depending on labor and depending on capital K bar. So, your L stands for, Q stands for output. Q stands for output. L stands for variable input labor, and K bar stands for fixed input capital. Yeah, fixed input capital. So fixed input and capital. Clear? So you can just get it. If we want to produce anything, we are using labor and capital. Labor is the variable input. As a nature, it is a variable input, and capital is a fixed input. Clear? And now, how can you deal with the practical life? So in practical life, when you are going to produce anything, so all factors or inputs that are nature, that's basically there are characteristics you can change any time. I mean any particular day. You suppose you decided you change it. So if any factor which is nature that you can change it, okay, you don't need the time to wait, or you don't need a particular time period. So all the factors will come under the variable input. And the factors you can't change when you want. It takes minimum time. So that factors will be part of the fixed factor. In this way we divide. Clear? So here like this, if you want to produce any output, then you're using labor and capital. Fine, dear? Now you have written this part? Okay, fine. Now, written clear? L is the variable input and K bar is the fixed input. Now, think. So it means if we are producing Q, we are using labor and we are using capital. Labor is the variable input. So total cost incurred on labor is known as total variable cost, is a total variable cost, and it is known as a short form TVC, total variable cost. And total cost incurred on fixed inputs or fixed factor is known as total fixed cost. It is the total fixed cost, that is known as a TFC. So TFC is the total fixed cost and TV is the total variable cost. Clear? So since in this example, okay, in very summarized way or simplified version, if we want to produce anything, we are using two factor, one is variable and one is the fixed. So total cost incurred on the variable input is known as the TVC. TVC we are writing, and total cost incurred on the fixed input is known as the total fixed cost, TFC. So if you add it, then you can get total cost. You can get total cost. Total cost of what? The total cost you are getting to produce Q amount of output. So if you want to produce Q amount of output, then total cost you are going to incur is TC amount. TC is known as the total cost. TC is known as total cost. It is known as total cost. Clear? Now, please write TVC. Just give the heading TVC, total variable cost. Okay, please write. TVC, total variable cost, you write. Okay, right. TVC, you have written this TVC, right. Total variable cost is the cost, total variable cost is the cost incurred on variable inputs. Written. It is the cost, total variable cost is the cost incurred on variable inputs. Incurred on variable inputs. You can take all the variable inputs. Okay, that is TVC. Okay, full stop. Just write one line. TVC, when a total variable cost depends on, add it one more line. TVC means total variable cost depends on level of production. Yes. TVC, total variable cost, this depends on level of production. Written? Fine. Level of production, full stop, right? If level of production is 0, if level of production is 0, TVC will be 0. If level of production is 0, comma, total variable cost will be 0. Fine, written, full stop, right. Yeah. Sorry. You just reverse it. If level of output is 0, then total variable cost will be 0. I think I'm reverse this line, or if you written the correct line, then write this way. What do you have to write? Because cost is depending on output. Cost is depending on production. So you write in this way, if level of output is 0, then total variable cost will be 0. In this way you write, just you change one word. If level of output is 0, total variable cost will be 0. Fine, full stop, right. If level of output changes, means if Q is going to change. If level of output changes, then total variable cost will change accordingly. Total variable cost will change accordingly. Clear? Total variable cost will change accordingly. Fine, dear? This is the concept behind the TVC, total variable cost. Okay, this cost is depending on variable inputs, say labor, or in practical life you can consider all the variable inputs. But here you are taking the labor. So this TVC is total variable cost depending on, it depends on level of output. Why? Because if you close your plant, don't operate, then you are not going to hire labor. So TVC is going to be, and you are not going to use any inputs. So TVC is going to be 0. If it keeps producing more and more, if output keeps changing more or less, then labor requirement is going to increase or decrease. So TVC will change accordingly. That's your written that. If level of output changes, then TVC will change accordingly, or accordingly TVC will change. Clear? Now, come to the TFC, total fixed cost. Right? Total fixed cost. The total fixed cost, it is the total cost incurred on, total cost means whole amount, the amount you incurred. It is the total cost, or it is the cost you write, just you write, it is the cost which is incurred on fixed inputs oblique factors. It is the cost incurred on fixed inputs oblique factors. Full stop, right? It does not depend on level of output. It does not depend on level of output. Okay, it does not depend on level of output. Full stop, right? If level of output is 0, right? If level of output is 0, TFC means total fixed cost will remain same. TFC will remain same. Okay, written, full stop. Then you write, if level of output changes, then again TFC will remain same. That is the nature of TFC. It is not going to change. It remains same. But we whole analysis in the short term, remember, we assume capital is fixed. So during short term, what you're getting, okay, labor you can change, but capital you can't change it. Okay. So if capital is not changing, means TFC will remain same. Whatever the level of output is going to change. And this we are analyzing in the short term. This is your meaning, you're getting it. So now come back here. So you are knowing that on variable inputs you spend this much of variable cost, on fixed inputs you spend this much of cost. After addition, the total cost is TC amount. But this total cost you incurred on production of Q amount of output. Q represents output also, Q represents units also. The Q is both here. Quantity plus output, not input, quantity of output and output also. Q. So if Q amount of output you produced and TC, total cost amount of cost you incurred, so just you go back to the class 2-3 maths, we already done it. If 20 banana price is 40 rupees, so one banana price is what? 40 divided by 20, which is equal to 2. Same thing you take. If Q amount of output, the total cost you incur TC amount, so for 1 unit output, how much cost you incurred? So for 1 unit, you have to divide by Q. 1 unit, and both sides you are dividing by Q. So when divided by 1 unit, you are dividing 1 unit. So now you are getting TC upon Q, and this TC upon Q is known as AC, average cost. Average cost. TVC upon Q is known as AVC, average variable cost, and TFC upon Q is known as AFC, average fixed cost. And then AVC plus AFC is equal to AC. These things I am trying to explain you. Average cost is sum of average variable cost plus average fixed cost. That you have to understand. Average cost is sum of average variable cost and average fixed cost. See, is it clear? Average cost is equal to average variable cost plus average fixed cost. Please write AC, average cost. Okay. So one line you first write, okay, total cost, right? Total cost is the sum of, right? I think all of you written this part, right? Total cost is the sum of total variable cost and total fixed cost. Total cost is sum of total variable cost and total fixed cost. Total cost. Okay. Change the para, you write AC, average cost. Okay, right. Average cost is the per unit total cost. Average cost is the per unit total cost. Clear? Written? Average cost is the per unit total cost. AVC you write average variable cost. AVC means average variable cost. Okay, right? It is per unit variable cost. It is per unit variable cost. Average variable cost means it is per unit variable cost. AFC you write average fixed cost. It is per unit fixed cost. Average fixed cost means it is a per unit fixed cost. Per unit fixed cost. Clear? And then you write only one line. Average cost is the sum of, yeah. Average cost is the sum of average variable cost and average fixed cost. Average cost is the sum of average variable cost and average fixed cost. Average cost is the sum of average variable cost and average fixed cost. Average variable cost and average fixed cost. Clear? Fine, dear? So what finally you are getting from here? Average, ये कहाँ से हो गया? Changed? ये यहाँ है. नहीं, back page is the white one. So just think, you got it. Average cost is the sum of average variable cost plus average fixed cost. These things you have to remember. Now next you write marginal cost. Marginal cost. You write marginal cost. Right. Marginal cost. Marginal cost. Marginal cost is the change in total cost. Marginal cost is the change in total cost. You are right, please write first. Marginal cost is the change in total cost due to change in 1 unit of output. Marginal cost is the change in total cost due to 1 unit of change, of output. Clear? In other words, you write in other words, it is additional cost incurred due to one additional unit of production. One additional unit of production. Okay, that is the concept of marginal cost. So it is also represents on an average cost per unit. Marginal cost also represents, but it represents one change in unit. How much change in our total cost? That is the MC, marginal cost. Example you can see. You have already we have discussed total cost is equal to this part. You have to understand dictation part you done. Now just you try to get it one thing. Total cost equal to TVC plus TFC. So you are producing Q amount of output. Fine. You are producing Q amount of output. Let us consider, okay, you change the output, delta Q amount. Delta Q may be any amount you change, 10 units, 20 units, 30 units you can take, which is I representing as delta Q. Dekho, some things we have to use it, very standard one. Okay. Suppose delta Q amount, this much amount you have increased. Definitely, it is going to change your total cost. This triangle, what I am writing, it's represent the change. So change is represented by this triangle. So that's you understand. So total cost is going to change. Now, your total variable cost is also going to change. You understand? This equal to this. But what's about TVFC? What about TFC? So if you write for writing, then you can write it like this. Yes, delta TFC. You write it. But you are knowing that TFC will not change. TFC, total fixed cost, will not change. So this TFC amount is going to be 0, no change. It's a 0 value. Why? Because just we have discussed, the fixed cost will not change. Even you are changing the level of output. It's a fixed in nature. So you increase the output, only variable cost part is going to change, but fixed cost part will not change. Okay. That is the reason I wanted to discuss this thing, so you can understand the whole concept. So this is delta Q. So if one additional unit you want to produce, it is the divide by delta Q, and here you have to divide by both the sides delta Q. And this thing is known as, this thing is known as MC, marginal cost. Is known as marginal cost. It is defined as marginal cost. You are getting that? So what is the difference between AC and the marginal cost? So marginal cost includes only change in variable costs, but average cost includes variable cost plus fixed cost both. Clear? Why? Because the marginal cost is defined like this: if one additional unit of output you are producing, then how much additional unit of cost you are going to incur. So TFC is going to be remain same, only variable cost is going to change, and that is going to, so MC, marginal cost, includes only change in variable cost. That's I was saying to you. The marginal cost includes only change in variable cost, and there is no fixed cost component in the marginal cost. Clear? So you can ask, sir, then how it's related to the banking system? Yeah. So 1 crore rupees you have assumed. So suppose I am a bank, I am operating say 100 crore rupees I am doing my business. So when you take on an average cost of 100 crores, you take combined 100 crores and you take average cost, then you are including your fixed cost and the variable cost both. But if you want to just check, if 1 crore rupee additional amount I am generating, then how much change in cost is there? So that time only change in variable cost will be the part of that. The same concept. So that's the reason I'm telling you, once you clear a concept, everywhere you can use it and you will get very comfortable understanding, yes, relating to the system, relating to the working of the economy. So this the difference is there. So simple in one line, you can say average cost having both the components, fixed cost and variable cost, MC having the only variable cost component. Clear? So you understand now here, if lending rate you are deciding on average cost and lending rate you are deciding on MC marginal cost, which one is going to be lower? Definitely is going to be lower. Why? Your average cost is higher relative to your marginal cost. GS purpose. I'm not completing the whole circle. Okay. So generally it's lower. So if you're calculating the lending rate on the basis of MC, it's going to be lower. So that is the reason MCLR system is relatively more, it becomes more effective in compared to base rate system. Okay. Because here, why? Because just you have seen that it includes only variable cost, and in variable cost, major cost is the fund cost. Major cost is fund cost. So any change in fund cost is going to change the marginal cost, and change in marginal cost is going to change the lending rate, because you're deciding lending rate on the basis of marginal cost of fund. This is the concept of MCLR, and that's implemented from 1st April 2016 in Indian economy by the RBI, and banks followed it. Clear till here? Clear to all? Now, then why external benchmark based lending rate system is there? So you please try to get these things. Marginal cost, good, marginal cost was implemented. Again RBI getting that RBI was decreasing the repo rate, but again it was not reflective in the ground level. Not reflective in the ground level. Then RBI again started reviewing this methodology. I mean the systems, the MCLR system that's implemented by the RBI in the Indian economy. Yes, where is the wrong things? What is happening wrong in the system? Why not monetary policy is more effective? Change in repo rate is not going to change the lending rate. So even MCLR that was implemented in 2016, okay, it is not effective fully. Okay, yeah, to some part it was made sensitive, but problem is that was the objective. But again MCLR that implemented in 2016 initially, that was not effective. So why the problem was RBI keeps requesting to the banks as far as cost of fund is concerned, take the price of fund as a repo rate, or repo rate you take as a price of fund. That was the RBI request to all banks. Why? Because RBI was saying that since when you need more funds or when you are in deficit, we are lending you, or I'm lending you, or you are borrowing from me. So fund cost should be you take the reference, the cost of fund. What is the repo rate is in the market? So repo rate should act as a reference for cost of fund. But banks given the argument that the fund, I'm doing the business with the fund, that is basically depositors' money. So what the rate of interest I'm giving to depositors, that rate of interest should be the reference for me for the fund cost, because major fund we are getting from the depositors. We are doing business on that.
Only in deficit I am reaching to you. So that conflict it remained. It remained. RBI is insisting please take the repo rate. Banks is saying no. Deposit rates they were taking as a reference one. Milk. Green nahi. Okay. So that was there. Then finally RBI requested initially, very democratic way they requested. But then finally it's internal. It is known as a ISB, internal study group. So one internal study group was constituted by RBI to review this whole system. I mean existing MCLR system and why not it's working effectively. So the committee found that, a committee observed and committee recommended that internal study groups, you can say, recommended the time-bound manner implement the external benchmark based lending rate system. September that is they not circulated RBI, and from October is implemented. What is that? What is external benchmark? Nothing. Only they instructed fund cost you have to take repo rate as a reference. Repo rate will act as a reference for the fund cost. You take repo rate and it's become the mandatory for all banks. So the request is over. Direction is started. You have to take the repo rate as the fund cost. It's still MCLR dear. If you just open the RBI website, okay, then you will get MCLR rate. But that MCLR is the external benchmark based lending rate. Why you are saying external benchmark? You understand it. Base rate and MCLR, these two are known as internal reference or internal benchmark reference. Internal reference, internal benchmark. Reason is what? You are calculating base rate on the average cost, you are calculating MCLR on the marginal cost, but all the components of average cost and marginal cost you are taking within the bank. Whatever things you are doing within your bank, on the basis of that you are calculating average cost, then you are calculating base rate, you are calculating marginal cost, you are calculating fixing the MCLR. So these two are known as internal reference rate. But now the RBI insisted, no, you have to take now repo rate as the reference rate. But repo rate, who is deciding repo rate? Who's deciding repo rate? So basically repo rate is decided by the RBI. And if you take a particular bank, so for bank, repo rate is the external factor. ECB, you just take any bank. For bank, RBI has decided and you have to take the reference. So for bank, it is the external factor. Because it is RBI who decides. So if you're taking the repo rate as a reference to calculate the fund cost, so it is external reference you are taking. So the lending rate you deciding under this system is known as external benchmark based lending rate system. And once this policy implemented from October 2019, then you can see that the day RBI changing the repo rate, its direct impact is on the lending rate. So if RBI is increasing the repo rate, the bank has to increase the lending rate, because now fund cost you are taking on the basis of repo rate. So if fund cost going up, you have to increase your lending rate. Simple in one line. Okay. So that now RBI is able to create or establish the effectiveness of monetary policy in the Indian economy. So any change in the policy rates at the upper layer is going to affect or going to change at the ground level the lending rate. And why so? Because today, suppose the inflation was today in the recent past, I mean few years back, when inflation was more than 7%, which is upper tolerance limit of 6%, then RBI started increasing the repo rate. Why? Because increase in repo rate, increase of all lending rates. You just go and check. In few months, all lending rate has increased. The housing from 6.9 is going to be around 9%, around more than 8%. You can say more than 8%. It is there. So housing, personal, car, all lending rates has increased. The moment repo rate, the RBI is increasing. So it's a totally linked, is that clear? So in this way it works. But to some extent, in some extent, what the RBI has done it, RBI is not pressurized, you have to take only one reference, that is the repo rate. Here, they given 3 more reference, like 3 years treasury bills yield, 6 months treasury bill yields, and any external benchmark which is published by the financial external benchmark India Private Limited. If they are publishing it, that you can take it. Clear here? This is there. So you can say that, you can simply say that's BPLR to base rate. The objective was bring transparency. That is there. But once you are able to establish the transparency, the next objective was to bring the effectiveness of monetary policy. So you shifted from base rate to MCLR and MCLR to external benchmark based lending rate system. It is also MCLR, still you are calculating marginal cost. It is still on the basis of marginal cost of fund, but the marginal cost itself you are calculating on the basis of repo rate as a reference to the cost of fund. Okay, dear, fine. Please write a few lines. Right, base rate. Right. Write few lines. Yeah, Reserve Bank. You give the heading external benchmark based lending rate system. External benchmark based lending rate system. Okay. See dear, one request to all of you, particular for this program or for this exam, you have to think different way. One of the way of study and teaching is that I can just define words, you write 1 line, 2 lines, but it is not going to solve your purpose, dear. It is not going to solve your purpose. State PCS, yes, they are asking the factual questions where you can just write. But when you are coming for these exams, so they are asking about analytical based, implication based, and should have in-depth knowledge, and you have to also know the background and the evolutions of that is the changes in circumstances, changes in the policy. You keep studying the policy, okay, from the starting and the rest to what is the update and today. So you have to just connect in this way, and in very connective manner you have to complete your syllabus. Then only if they are going to ask any questions related to implication, and you can see last 4 and 5 years. You can see last 4 and 5 years, you are getting that, not 4 and 5 years, even 6, 7, 8 years back, then they are asking the implication based questions, and so your pattern of preparation should be accordingly. Clear? So in a starting point, you have to give efforts, you have to understand. And you have to understand one thing, you are not preparing for one day exam. Okay, you are preparing for this exam, and which is, it's very, you need basically hard work, okay, patience for completion of the subject, I mean the whole course, and facing this exam. So you start reading in this way, like I'm connecting it, just merely defining what is base rate, MCLR and external benchmark. It's not going to solve our purpose. Only 2-line definitions, it can solve your one-day exam, but not for this. Because they are going to ask about the reasons, the implications. So if you are knowing the whole background, then only you are able to write it. Okay. So first, that is the reason, if you don't know about the marginal cost and average cost concept, it's very difficult to understand the base rate and MCLR system. Now if you once clear and now you connect it, it's very easily you can explain. Take it here. Now please write. You are given the heading external benchmark based lending rate system. Let me open your WhatsApp group. Okay, you have sent some questions here. Please don't ask this. I think you sent me this question around 12:09. Now I have completed. So don't go in that. Don't go in that. Okay. So you said that academic way MCLR can be higher than base rate. ये मत जाओ इस तरफ. Simply you समझो कि MCLR having the variable cost component. So I am saying you. Later on we can explain. In that depth we don't need it. बस इतना याद रखो कि marginal cost having the variable cost component, average cost having the fixed cost component. So if you're calculating on the basis of MC marginal cost, it is lower relatively. It will be the lower than the base rate. बस यहीं तक इस रखो आप. Sir, why capital is fixed? If we change any variable, we need put capital on. No, capital it takes time to change. I'm not saying you can't change. You can change in the long term, but the short term, the way you define the fixed capital, you can't change it. That example I've already given you. Suppose you want to build up a new factory, you cannot build up in the 1 month and 15 days. You need minimum 6 months, 7 months, 1 year. So you can't change it in that durations. You need minimum that time. So it's fixed in nature. So please repeat marginal cost. Okay. Marginal cost is simply, it is a change in total cost. How much cost you incurred in total cost. If you're increasing 1 unit more, then definitely the fixed cost is going to be remain more or less same. Only variable cost that you need to produce that, only that is going to change. So that way you are defining कि marginal cost is the change in total cost due to change in or due to increase in one additional unit of production. Simply. ठीक है dear? Write it, all of you. External benchmark based lending rate. Right. Reserve Bank of India had constituted an internal study group to examine various aspects of the marginal cost of funds based lending rate system. Okay, system, right. The internal study group observed that internal benchmarks such as the base rate oblique MCLR have not delivered effective transmission of monetary policy. Full stop, right? The study group had recommended a shift. To an external benchmark in a time-bound manner. Right. The RBI issued a circular. On 4th September 2019. Making it mandatory for banks for banks to link all new floating rate okay, floating rate, personal loan, housing loan, car loan, personal loan, housing loan, car loan, MSMEs, etc. etc. to an external benchmark effective from 1st October 2019. Okay. Right. Banks can choose from one of the four external benchmarks. First you keep writing repo rate. Second, you can write 3 months. T-bills. I already discussed T-bills. 3 months T-bills. Yield. Third one, 6 months. T-bills. Yield. I'm telling you about yield. Just wait. Fourth one, any other benchmark interest rate, published by any other benchmark interest rate published by any other benchmark interest rate published by Financial Benchmarks India Private Limited. Financial Benchmark India Private Limited. Yeah, you can choose any of these four. Okay, please write and just give me 1 minute, 1 to 2 minutes, please.
So these options are given to the bank. Yes, the external benchmark, RBI says that for getting the cost of fund a reference, what should be the price of fund? Either you can take repo rate as the reference, or you can take 3 months T-bills yield or 6 months T-bill yields. T-bills means treasury bills. That day also I discussed about when I was discussing the GSEC. If maturity period is less than 1 year, then that GSEC is known as T-bills, treasury bills. Yield means return from that bank. What is returns you are getting? Okay, that return is known as a yield. So if you take how much returns you are getting from the 3 months T-bills or 6 months T-bills, but if you think in the practical one, these all are very related because there's a short-term bonds. So any change in the repo rate, same way these are going to change. But mostly the banks are following the repo rate. They are following the repo rate. Clear? So these are the things they could choose. Or they are saying that if Financial Benchmark India Private Limited, if this is private limited, it is working under the RBI. Okay, but yes, it is the private limited. So if this Financial Benchmark India Private Limited, if they are publishing any interest rate, so you can take as a reference. Okay, you can take as a reference. Fine. Okay. So the 4 options the bank has. Please write one. Okay. After that, change the para you write. Okay. Please write. Right. Banks change the para. Banks are free to offer external benchmark linked loans. External benchmark linked loans to any customers or borrowers, to any borrowers. Okay, full stop, right? In order to ensure transparency, ease of understanding of loan products, by the borrowers, okay, a bank must adopt a uniform external benchmark within a loan category. Full stop, right? In other words, the adoption of multiple benchmarks by the same bank, is not allowed within a loan category. Clear? Right. The interest rate under external benchmark, will be reset. Reset means again you are calculating. The interest rate under external benchmark will be reset, RESET, at least once in 3 months. Clear, dear? Now get this thing to why you are saying at least in 3 months. Because you remember in MPC you have already written that in Monetary Policy Committee. MPC has to meet once in 3 months, that is at least 4 times in a year. At least 4 times in a year means in every quarter. At least 4 times in a year means every quarter you have to meet. Clear? So the moment MPC is meeting in every quarter, you have to link with the lending rate. So there is a provision that banks has to revisit the lending rate in every 3 months. Why every 3 months?
Okay, the moment RBI is going to change the repo rate, you have to change accordingly. So this criteria is meeting with that. And under this new framework, RBI is able to establish the effectiveness of monetary policy in the Indian system, Indian economic system. Clear? So now this part is over here. So the monetary system we completed here. Okay. Other than the banks. So banking only, what are the changes in the policy that I will do later on. But next topic I prefer to go for the planning. I want to start the planning topic. Just to move in that way. One questions you send me. Those banks who offers more interest rate to their customers, for them the cost of fund raising will be more than SBI or other strong banks. Good. So if they follow external benchmark based lending rate system, then their profit margin will be severely affected. Am I right? See Partha, one thing you understand these things. Earlier, what the rate of interest you are giving to the the depositors, that he was taking, then you're deciding the lending rate. But now the RBI is saying that no, don't go in this way. Take repo rate as the base, the reference, and then you decide the rate, the lending rate. And what the lending rate you are going to decide, then accordingly you go decide the deposit rates. So if you go and see the banks who is offering higher rate of interest on deposits, just see that bank's lending rate. Because simple logic is, I am businessman, I am getting from you fund. I'm getting fund from you. I'm using this fund. If I'm not earning more, then how can I pay you? If I'm paying you 7%, then definitely I have to earn more than 7%. I have to maintain my operating costs, I have to maintain other costs, and plus the minimum profit margin. Yeah, what you can do that, what you're writing is fine. You can just pass some benefits to the customers. That you can do that. In place of say some profit margin, you decrease your profit margin, and that is one of the best strategy nowadays. See, there are two ways you can do the business. Charge higher price, make profit from the limited customers, or charge low price, go for and expand your business to the masses and earn the higher profit, very high profit. So revenue maximizations is one of the things. You can maximize it just by selling huge amount of product at the low price. You can do that. So banks can go for that. And one more thing, why they are offering the higher rate of interest? Because few banks, they are not able to mobilize the resources. We are talking about the SBI. SBI, even they paid lowest amount, but I think you, I, and so many people, they still prefer to go and deposit with the SBI. Because SBI created confidence among customers, and one more thing is that SBI having the government share. Government is a partner of SBI. Okay, so they are knowing that SBI is not going to go to the bankruptcy. Even it is there, so government and RBI both are there. But the private banks, they are offering the higher rate of interest. People, they don't have trust. So few of us is taking that risk, even they are offering the higher rate of interest. So many factors they are working. And if they are not getting deposits, how they can do the business? So first, let us get the fund, then only I can do the business. So they may offer these things. But yes, if they are offering, so you can check relatively, lending rate will be also higher. SBI is giving you low deposit rates, but also SBI's lending rate is also very low in compared to all other banks. So you have to see from both the angle. Yeah. Okay, Artha? Fine. So anyone of you, now you just like this, I am telling you, I completed this topic. Now, if you have any doubts in your mind, you just send me. I am just really happy to discuss with you.
Okay, but only problem is that the first day I just requested all of you. If topic I complete, I will ask you please reply, and any problem you have, then you discuss with me. I'm ready to discuss. But some topics we are going to do in the future. I mean, not future, very soon. So then that topic related, once I complete, then you can put your questions. And I think once I complete the topic, most of the end queries and questions you are getting from class itself. So only few things left that I can entertain personally. I mean, particularly. So यहाँ तक कोई any questions, any doubts you have? If it is there, then please send me. Otherwise, we can start new topic. It's Indian planning. Or plan in India, you can say. Plan in India, you can say, or Indian planning, you can say. Okay. See, there are so many things related to this, but we are focusing mainly on those things that is related to the plan of the central government and the concept, the models that we used in Indian planning in India. We are focusing on that because questions, domain, area is that they're going to ask from these things. And ultimate, what I want to do in the planning system and the Indian planning. So first of all, I want to just discuss the concept of plan, the types of planning in India that we implemented, okay, and some models that we implemented in Indian economy, and 1 to 12 5-year plan, the summary of that, not in detail I'm going to discuss. Yes, if you are preparing for the optional paper, then you have to go each and every plan in very detailed one. Summary I'm going to give you, why? Because it will develop a trend in you. Okay, you can understand, yes, how the plan evolved in Indian economy. Okay, different plans, what are the major things happened. And just starting from the first to 12 5-year plan, then I will discuss the overall objective of third 3 years action agenda, which is formulated by the Niti Aayog. Clear? How the planning commission worked, how the Niti Aayog is working, how Niti Aayog is different from the planning commissions, and how do we expect that yes, Niti Aayog is going to solve all the challenges the way they are started working. Okay, so this comparative study we will do, and last the 3 year section is in the overall summary. Till now, the Niti Aayog formulated that, implemented that. Yeah, it is under process. Anytime they can come out with the new documents. Okay, so if before that, if it's coming, before ending your class, it's coming, then I will discuss you definitely. Okay, otherwise the trend we already developed with you, you can add on yourself, you will not get any problems. Clear here? So let's start the planning. I think the same 888 last me 5,559. I think Partha, you are sending what is created score. No, it's a created score. It's a credit score. So I think it's one word you typed by mistake. It is the credit score. Credit score of individual or maybe any country. It is the showing your credit worthiness, basically your rank. Suppose you are getting a call from the bank officials, they are calling you, they are asking you, sir, you want loan. So you can just get this very practical, you do that. Suppose the day you are getting a call from some bank officials, they are asking you, sir, you want personal loan. Generally they are asking for the personal loan. So you ask them, yes, I want, at what rate of interest is going to offer. So they will tell you, sir, around say 14% to 22%, in meanwhile you can get the loan. You ask them, no, you're going to give me loan, so that should be the particular rate of interest. So they will ask you, sir, you give me some information, then only I can tell you. So what you're doing, you're basically providing some information. And the moment you're providing some information, so on the basis of your informations, they can tell you, okay, sir, maybe you can get a 15% rate of interest. You asked here, from a
range, you are coming to a lagbhag around a point. What is the basis? So after getting your informations, okay, they can calculating a score, credit, a point, and that is going to decide your the potentials to pay it back. So if you are more credit worthy customers, your credit rank is very higher one. Okay, like in the country wise, you heard about the international credit rating agencies. Okay, like S&P, Standard and Poor's, you can take the example. They are same way they are taking the credit ranking of the each and every country, and that is one of the indicators that if foreign investor is going to decide really they should invest in your country or not. Clear? I think Partha same thing is credit score. I think not created score. You check it. Take it here. Any other doubts? Any other problems? Please check. So someone has asked about the how the repo rate, same repo rate is going to change the lending rate. Now you are getting these all questions. You are getting all of you. The question you asked related to that, or suppose something it is in your mind. All are clear? Okay. Now let's start the planning. Indian planning. Okay. Meanwhile, if you are getting any question, please send it. Let me allow to draw some diagram. Sit here. I mean a very normal flow chart. Clear? So you are getting this diagram? You are getting this diagram, dear? Yes. And here the reference is I given. But I mean, don't take these examples and this diagram in any other way. You take very normal way. Let us consider this person is our policy maker. This person is our policy maker, fine. You take your example today. Oh, before going that, what is plan? What is plan? Or what is planning? Anyone? What is planning? Anyone? Yeah, you explain on the basis of your normal understanding. Normal understanding. What do you mean by plan or planning? So, go back to the first class that I discussed with you. Every country has limited resources. Generally here the plan is made by the government. We are talking about the plan made by the government. And each and every government has limited resources. But government has to achieve or develop the sector, all the part of the economy. And they have to develop in such a way that they have to achieve the higher economic growth and development. The question is that how can you achieve that? So you have to make a plan. And you have to choose the sectors how to develop on the basis of priority. Okay, first these few sectors I will develop. The next I will go to develop these sectors, then that sector, then overall economy we can develop. So you're choosing basically on the basis of priority the different sectors, and ultimately target is to develop all the sectors and achieve the higher economic growth and development. Clear? But due to the constraint of the resources, it is not possible for a particular country to develop all the sectors at the same time. So on the basis of priority, you have to choose the sector. Like take your example. Suppose if you stayed in the hostel, basically you take the hostel life. So generally in the hostel we were receiving a limited amount of money from our parents. Okay. So for a particular month the amount remains same, but expenditure of us is unlimited. Any amount you spend is a very small amount for us. So you are managing your expenditure from the limited resources. So for that you are doing the plan. Yes, first I have to spend, I have to pay to the housing, then I have to pay to the fooding, then I have to pay the essential goods, then for the luxury one. Like this you have to make plan, and accordingly you are spending. That methodology you adopted. So planning process you can understand from yourself, from the very individual you can start and understanding the plan. And we have to make the plan. Okay, so in the time bound manner, from the limited resources, you are able to achieve a higher economic growth and development. Clear? Just write one line. Planning is a mechanism through which, right? Planning is a mechanism through which mechanism or process you can say. Planning is a mechanism through which country can achieve higher economic growth and development okay, through development of different sectors on the basis of priority from limited resources, from the use of limited resources in time bound manner. Clear? Right. Planning has some specific objectives. No, I said just right. Planning has general goals. Planning has general objectives or goals. As well as specific objectives. Okay. Specific objectives which are to be achieved within a specified period of time. Okay, full stop, you right? ठीक है dear? Now, what is the meaning of general objectives and what do you mean by this specific objective? So, if you just, anywhere you are going to write, it's a very normal way. If anyone asking what are the objectives of the planning in India or any country of the world, so all the positive aspects of economy will be the part of objective. Like to achieve higher economic growth and development, agriculture and IT sector development, industrial sector development, infrastructure development, services sector like development of education, development of the health sector, transportations, sanitations, okay, you road construction, everything you put it. Second, development of defense sector, public administrations. Okay, you can just put it everything here. Eradication of poverty, decrease in income inequalities, increase in job opportunities. These all will be your objectives. You start from the first 5-year plan. See that. These all they are the part of your objectives or goal. So all the positive aspects of planning, you can, or aspects of the country, you can put as a goal or objectives of plan. You can put it, no issue. Clear? Now, what is specific objectives? So yes, among these general objectives, in a particular plan, if you are giving focus to a particular area, so that is known as specific objectives. Again, I am telling you, within the same general objectives, if you are choosing a particular sector, a particular area, and giving a special focus to that, that is known as a special objective. Okay, take one example. In the first 5-year plan, the priority was given to agriculture sector. That becomes a specific objective for that plan. Second 5-year plan, if you come, then a special focus was given to industry. So industry becomes your special focus or specific sector or specific goal. Take the example of 11th 5-year plan. Inclusive growth was the main focus. So inclusive growth becomes a specific one. Take the 12th 5-year plan. So inclusive plus sustainable, this too was the priority. So inclusive, sustainable, this becomes a priority, a specific one. So this way you can define normal and, general and specific objectives. Clear? Now, come back here. So if you see this diagram, so basically, I just considering that this person is our policy maker, India's policy maker. So you are knowing that before independence, a committee was constituted, and this committee was chaired by the Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru. Okay, and this committee was assigned the responsibility to suggest which policy, which plan is good for the Indian economy. So what you are doing right today, practically today what you are doing, suppose you want to buy any gadget or anything today, suppose you want to buy today, what you are doing? First of all, you are going to the market survey, you are getting market survey, then you are getting the feedback, and if you are getting positive and better feedback for a particular product, then only you are buying that. Several time we are doing that. Suppose you plan to buy something, okay, and there are substitute goods are available, but when you can see the survey and the review report and you are not getting the better review, okay, review saying this product is not good, so maybe you are changing your plan, you are not buying that product, you prefer to buy some other product. So it means today you are deciding any product, after reviewing that product, you are getting the market review, aap check karte ho, okay, then you are going for that. Similarly, if you see in India, even you see the political, when you studied the polity part, in the Indian constitution, if you check, then so many things we borrowed from the different countries. So many things we borrowed from the different countries. So we reviewed the different countries, what are the goods in that countries, we borrowed and we included in our Indian constitutions. Similarly, the committee was constituted under Pandit Mr. Pandit Nehru, and when the committee was reviewing the different types of the plan prevailing in the world, so there was two different groups that time. And when this committee was constituted, it was in 1930s. Okay. And 30s was the period of Great Depression that already I discussed in the class. 1930s was the period of impact of Great Depressions. The whole period was affected from the Great Depressions. So during that period, if you think, one side there was capitalist economy, and other side there was socialist economy. Socialist economy like USSR, and capitalist economy like USA, France, these all we have put it. Okay, these are the example of capitalist economy. So when our policy makers reviewing the whole world, which policy is good for India, so that time capitalist economy was not performing. Why not performing? Because that period, 30s period was the Great Depression period. Okay, and the most of the developed country in this world affected from Great Depressions. So there was low aggregate demand in the capitalist economy, low output, even the negative growth registered during these Great Depressions. Unemployment like country like USA, we are more than 33% of unemployment rate was there. So this country was in the, not performing during that period. Fine. But if you take the example of socialist economy, basically your USSR, that started industrializations in 1929, you can take 28, 29 you can take. So when the whole world we are going to downward, that time the USSR started industrializing. Industrialization started in USSR during this period, and USSR was performing really very good. Okay, so this growth pattern or growth in the socialist economy, like USSR, the growth pattern, economic growth and development, really it's impressed to our policymakers. It's really impressed. So our policymakers inclined more towards socialist economy. They wanted, that's no socialist economy, these things they want. Okay, but the policymakers, particularly the Mr. Nehru, Pandit Nehru, he was Mr. Pandit Nehruji, you can say, yeah, Nehruji that time, he basically wanted to adopt the socialist pattern of development, but Nehruji was not, prefer the dictatorship like things in the USSR. So Pandit Nehruji was more interested to bring in the economy sort of freedom, democracy, freedom, okay, the concept of private property. He wanted basically these things should be in the Indian economy, in the plan structure. So 100% the policymakers was not interested to adopt socialist pattern, but he liked the freedom, democracy which was in the capitalist economy. So our policymakers taken some characteristics from the socialist economy and some characteristics from the capitalist economy and decided to go for mixed economy. Okay, so in India, even after independence, not even, but after independence, we adopted our model, the mixed economy, but inclinations, it was towards the socialist pattern of development. So how can you write an exam? India adopted the mixed economy pattern, but our mixed economy, but our pattern of development, it was socialist pattern. Pattern of development, it was the socialist pattern. Clear? Why? That was that adopted a socialist pattern. Okay, inclination was there. If you take 1991, that is we adopted the LPZ model, and LPZ model, or you can say capitalist pattern of development, we started from 1991. And why it is so? Because you are knowing that India faced balance of payment crisis in 1991. See, so we needed the huge amount of foreign currency to pay our external debt or external liabilities. So you know that there are two international institutions are there, two international institutions. One is World Bank and one is IMF. Clear? World Bank and IMF. These two international institutions there. And World Bank and IMF, these two are known as twins of Bretton Woods. What is known as twins of Bretton Woods? Reason is what? Because after Second World War, the Bretton Woods Conference, okay, in that conference, it was decided the formation of, constituted, you can say, they decided to form two international institutions. One institution, it is the IBRD, which is known as the International Bank for Reconstruction and Development, IBRD. That their associate is now, it's known as the World Bank. So basically, IBRD or World Bank was constituted, but responsibility was assigned to World Bank if any members country facing development issue, then World Bank has to develop. Clear? That is the IBRD and the World Bank. Second institutions that conceived in that particular conference, Bretton Woods conference, that institution is your IMF, International Monetary Fund. IMF was assigned the responsibility, okay, to create uniform financial system, and the main responsibility was if any member country facing balance of payment problem, then IMF has to help. So that time India faced in 1991 the BOP crisis. So we approached to the IMF because it is the IMF responsibility. Okay, that is the main objective was that to help member countries if the member countries facing the BOP problem. So we approached to the IMF. IMF lended us money, no issue, lended us, but it was the conditional loan, and condition was economic reforms. So when you're going to write, don't write like this. You just say that since Indian economy faced BOP crisis, so it was need of the Indian economy and also recommended by the IMF, so that we implemented the economic reforms. So always you write in very, diplomatic way. Basically, we can say that yes, Indian economy, it was need of the Indian economy and also recommended by the IMF. But we signed an agreement with the IMF that is known as the Washington Agreement. So through Washington Agreement, we started implementing the economic reforms in India. So basically, economic reforms you see LPZ model. Basically, you are inclined towards capitalist pattern of development, not capitalist economy. Is still India is the mixed economy, but we inclined more towards capitalist economy, Clear? You have to remember. Fine. So that started. So initially it was the towards socialist economy, but still we are the mixed economy. So you can see that you go before economic reforms, the most of the heavy industries developed by under the government, that is under PSUs, all the major areas, it was under the government was deciding. But after 1991, you are moving towards capitalist economy, there is a market economy. So most of the economic activities you are handing over to the private sector. You are giving more space to private sectors to participate in the economy. Why? Because you adopted the capitalist pattern of development. Clear? Because Niti Aayog documents, if you read, then clearly it's mentioned that the government is for the governance, not for the business. So all the economic activities, as per the government trend, you can see is going to be handed over to the private parties, and only government will focus to the administrations. Clear? Fine here. So few lines you write about the socialist economy and the capitalist economy. So just write, change the para, just write. First you write types of economic system. types of economic systems. Just briefing, I'm just telling you, right? Every society has to answer three basic questions. Three basic questions. First, what to produce? First, what to produce? What to produce? Second, how to produce? How to produce? And third, for whom to produce? For whom to produce? Clear? These questions, these are also known as the central problems of economy. Any economy in the world, they are facing these three central problems. What to produce, how to produce, for whom to produce. And these three central problems we are using to explain the socialistic pattern and capitalist pattern. Clear? And also the mixed economy. So you understand one thing, when you're saying socialist economy, simple, and don't start reading the Marx and other things, Lenin books. No, don't do it. They are not going to ask. Okay. So only the basic characteristics you should know that you are going to use in writing your analysis on this one. Only basic one. Okay. For few points you should know. Okay. You don't need to go in depth. Start the reading the Marx and Lenin for socialist economy. Don't do that. Okay. Only small. And what is that? If you are saying it is a socialist economy, simple meaning is that the means of production is under the control of the government. Simple in one line. Okay. And all the decisions, what to produce, how to produce, and whom to produce, is taken by the government on the basis of need. If society, what is the need of a society? The government will do that. Okay. Right. First, socialist economy. Right. The main characteristics of a socialist economy is the existence of public enterprises, or state ownership of capital, and state ownership of capital in all the important sectors of the economy, Full stop, right? In a socialist economy, the government decides what goods are to be produced, in accordance with the needs of the society. It is assumed that the government knows what is good for the people of the country, and so the desires of individuals are not given much importance. Clear? Full stop. In other words, you write one line. In other words, socialist economy means, all the means of productions are under the government. All the means of production are under the government. And all decisions are taken on the basis of need. On the basis of need. Bas, full stop. This much things you know. Okay, then it's this concept will help you to understand. Yes, because government knowing that, okay, what, and government will decide everything. Right, capitalist economy. Few lines only. I'm not going to discuss more because what is my requirement, that part only we are going to focus on that. Right, mixed economy. No, capitalist economy, right? Yeah, capitalist economy or oblique market economy, you can say. Right, capitalist economy means the means of production are under the control of private parties, full stop. Right, all the three central problems of the economy are solved on the basis of demand. That is market decides. Full stop. Clear? Just write capitalist economy. Right? Capitalist economy. Or right, in a capitalist economy, I say right. Just write in a capitalist economy. Only those goods will be produced. That are in demand. That is goods that can be sold profitably. Either in domestic market or in the international market. Okay, right. If cars are in demand, CAR, if car is in demand, car will be produced. If bicycle is in demand, then bicycle will be produced. Okay, right. In a capitalist economy oblique market economy, the goods produced are distributed. Among people not on the basis of what people need, but on the basis of what people can afford. And are willing to purchase. Okay, full stop, right? This, okay, willing to purchase, full stop. That's, yeah. It means simple in one line. If you are operating like capitalist economy, just check around you. After 1991, so many changes happened in our country. I'm not blaming, but I'm observing. You also observe. Okay. You can just check that those goods are in the market, they are in the demand. And those goods are produced if the producers are getting buyers. If you're ready to pay, you can get the goods. So today, or the capitalist economy is producing anything, if they are getting the buyers, people are willing to pay. If you are willing to pay means what? You are able to pay. And you are able to pay or willing to pay, then only producers or capitalist is going to produce, otherwise not. But government, if they are knowing that there is a demand, they will supply in the market, whether it's a 5 demanders or 10 demanders or any amount. So there is a criteria, something different. In capitalist economy, market will decide whether you are producing or not. But in the socialist economy, government will decide based on the need. Okay. So this concept you remember because question asked in the commission from this topic. So if you have the the concept behind it, concept of these things, you can better write your answer. Okay. Write the mixed economy, third one. Okay. And USSR is the one of the, only one example you can give the USSR, socialist economy. But if you think about the drawback, the socialist economy, the USSR, earlier there was, during the USSR period, that before disintegration, there was no concept of private property. No concept of private property. Okay. But the policymaker, they want that. Okay. So 100% you can't adopt the socialist pattern. Clear? Mixed economy, right? Mixed economy, right? The economy, where the characteristics of both the society, both the economy, capitalist and socialist. Mixed economy is the country where both the characteristics are prevailing. Both the countries' characteristics are prevailing. Socialist and capitalist. Okay, socialist and capitalist. Full stop, right? The means of productions are under both the parties, government and private sector. The means of productions are under both the parties, government and private sectors. Government and private sector. Clear? Right, only one point very, very important. Under mixed economy, the sectors, right, keeps writing, sectors where private sector performing and playing better. Private sector, we are performing and playing better. Okay, better. In those sectors, private sector are allowed. Private sectors are allowed. But the sectors where private sectors fail to provide goods or services, maybe due to several reasons, fail to provide goods and services, okay, the government will take care. A government taking care of. A government, you can write, where they failed, the government provides, ऐसे कर लो, government provides goods and services. Basically, it's goods and services is there. So government provides the goods and services. Okay, take the example of poor people. Private sectors are not doing, but government is giving you public targeted PDS system. Government is giving you employment under the Manrega. Okay, government is giving you free medical facilities. So medical facilities is there, but where the private sector is performing, let them to perform. People are going, let them to go. But in the some section of society, they are not able to afford it. Government has to do that. So where both parties are working, you can say it's a mixed economy. India is one of the best example of mixed economy. And the characteristics of Indian economy should be mixed economy. Why? Because we cannot go for 100% capitalist pattern. Government has to intervene in some of the sectors where all the persons, all the individuals cannot meet their demand. Okay, these are there. Fine. Now, come to the types of planning. So, after that, right, types of planning in India. I think one book is given to you, the economics book. Please just go through the reference one. Okay, go through reference one.
Yeah, dear. Please write. This page save kar dijiye. After class, I will start from here tomorrow. Clear, dear? Just types of planning I am writing here. There are also others, but we have written here imperative planning. In the bracket, you can see we have written that up to 7 5-year plan. FYP means 5-year plan. You remember, as I just discussed with you, we adopted the planning process from the USSR. So 5-year planning model, that's we borrowed from the USSR. Why? Because in 1920, that is a Great Depression time, USSR performed better. And that time we were going to the search the which plan is better. So since USSR performing better, so we adopted the USSR model. Okay. And the 5-year plan was the characteristics of the USSR model, so we adopted the 5-year planning system. So from first 5-year plan up to 7th 5-year plan, you can check the nature of planning in India. It was imperative plan. Indicative planning we adopted first time in 8th 5-year plan. That is the first 5-year plan. 8th 5-year plan is the first 5-year plan after economic reforms. Okay, so 8th 5-year plan and onwards, our nature of planning is indicative planning. Centralized planning or centralized plan, we have broken in writing the planning commission. Please don't take another way. Centralized planning in bracket we written the planning commission does not mean that centralized planning means planning commission. No. Why? But why have written that? Planning commission worked on the principle or the nature was centralized planning. So the way planning commission worked, the nature was centralized planning. But Niti Aayog, they are working today, it is the nature of decentralized planning. Okay. What are these? I will discuss you tomorrow, but I am connecting this. Decentralized planning, bracket we have written Niti Aayog, it means Niti Aayog is working on the basis of decentralized plan. And rolling plan was implemented in India 1978 till 1980. So for 2 years, the rolling plan was implemented. Clear? So these types of plan we will continue from here. Okay. And meanwhile, the questions the topics what we covered, please read once. Okay, please read once.
and you can get the reference of booklets which is given to you. Okay, and yes, sometimes you can get some printing errors. Okay, so if you're getting any problem, please tell me. We can clear it, this one. But read here. When you're coming in the next class, please revise everything. Then only you are going to connect it, because the class I started in a such a way that we are keeps adding one and one topic, but its next topic is connecting with the previous topic, so you are able to develop a framework which will help you to understand the whole economic process. Clear? Chalo. Thank you everyone. Okay. Thank you.